Hello, and welcome to Almost in Focus, episode 7. Some people thought we wouldn't get here, but we have. We've made it. Hi, I'm your host, Tobias, otherwise known as Toby, and I am joined, as always, by my glorious co-host.
That's me. That'll be Tom. Thank you for saying glorious. That's very kind of you.
I'm in a good New Year's spirit, post-Christmas high, let's call it that.
Yeah, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. That's not even just for the podcast. I don't think we haven't actually spoken since New Year's Day. It's been a bit manic, hasn't it? So,
Yeah, joys of family, post-Christmas,
yeah,
new toys.
that's just the adults.
Have you had a good one though?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we've done the multiple family Christmas, as I'm sure loads of people do. You know, there's my family, her family, the rest of her family, rest of my family. I think we do 3 Christmases in 2 weeks. So by the time you've done 3, you're kind of ready for a break from all the festivities. But yeah, it's been nice. Very much nice to see the family. We've kind of got a good system with our families now. This is a completely non-photography related thing, but hey ho, we do Secret Santa with the whole family now, so that everyone gets something they want, but it doesn't cost everyone a fortune. When you're a photographer, that's kind of important because, let's be honest, anything we want isn't going to be cheap, you know. And there's only so many camera cufflinks one man can own, you know. I mean, I'm sure anyone who's a photographer listening to this Christmas, if you got socks with cameras on, camera cufflinks, or what's the other go-to for a photographer? What do you get? Traditional.
I've had quite a few like little mini history books of photography over the years, which all different books. I've not had any duplicates of them, but they all basically cover the same historical range.
Yeah. It's hard. I think we probably should have done this before Christmas for people who'd listen to and get some Christmas shopping ideas for photographers, but it's hard to buy for photographers. It's not a cheap hobby, and it's difficult to know what each individual photographer is into.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm probably easier most in that respect because I focus so much on using black and white and the
Yeah.
darkroom that, any black and white film is always going to be a very welcome thing. But
Everyone listening to that,
most people don't really know one film from another anymore.
Just saying, anyone looking to buy Tom any presents, he's looking for black and white film, everyone. Black and white film for Tom. Christmases and birthdays.
So photographically, Toby, what did you get for Christmas?
Photographically for Christmas. So I got a small rig torch, which I'm currently using in the background, which for our listeners won't care, but I've managed to put a nice sort of exciting lighting background just for you, Tom, just to bring you a little bit of visual joy as well as my face. So yeah, that was a present I got. Was the small rig, what's it called? I don't know its actual name, to be entirely honest with you. It's the small rig torch. We were saying before, I think there's a few people who make them. Neewer make one. I think Godox make one as well. It's a torch with a rubber attachment on the front that it turns into a gobo lighting equipment. It's very fun toy niche kit, but it'll be making an appearance in my photos just because it's something to play with.
Yeah,
Awesome.
I've got one. We've got a couple of work as well. They're really good fun in some portrait stuff.
Yeah.
If you combine them with a honeycomb, you get some
Yeah.
really nice sort of combinations you can do.
Yeah, I think that's kind of been my thing. It was a fun little toy to have a go with. I got from my wife. She got me one of these new camera straps that sort of you wear across your body and it screws into the tripod mount of the camera.
I know the ones, yeah.
Yeah. I've never used one before, and I've been bemoaning my camera bouncing against my stomach and scars and things. And so her response to that was to be practical and tell me to shut up by buying me a camera strap that goes across the side of my body instead. That's actually, I'm surprisingly pleased with that. The only thing, it doesn't take medium format very well. You're sort of risking breaking your hip wearing the Mamiya press like that, but everything else works pretty well on it.
I can imagine you taking that a stage further and going for those ones that are like a harness over both shoulders with a camera hanging underneath each armpit.
Yeah, you're sort of thinking Beach Wild, locked and loaded. The Rambo of photography. Have to have some his SLR with insane motor drives on the bottom, machine gunning pictures. But yeah, those were kind of my honest. That was it. And a couple of rolls of film that I bought myself out of Christmas money and things. It wasn't a massively photography heavy Christmas, to be fair. I think people have learned to. Actually, no, I tell a lie. I'm actually starting to sound like an advert for small rig. I got a small rig LED cube as well, light panel. These are sort of just little additional I don't know, what are they, 5 centimeters by 5 centimeter squares of LED light for fill light for when you're filming. Nice little, again, nice little bit of kit. That being said, I have things to talk about in terms of kit for this year. I've monopolised. What about you? What did you get for Christmas, Mr. Warland? What photography toys did you get?
Well, I'm going to stick with a lighting theme as you've started. I've got a new light stand for my Rotalight. So I use the little Rotalight Neo lights quite a lot now. And when I have both hands working properly, I would tend to use one on a boom or on a stand. But stands are quite bulky to carry around. So this one's tiny and you can go up to ceiling height quite comfortably. Now, I wouldn't want to put like a big Bowen's head or something on it. But for my little Rotalight, it's absolutely brilliant. And it's, really, really small. It's about the length of my forearm. So, that's a nice little addition to my lighting. And more excitingly, from my wife, is a nice big box of black and white paper for the darkroom. So I'm looking forward to, it's a box of Kentmere resin glossy paper, 100 sheets. So that'll keep me busy for a little while. So yeah.
I think we have to take a moment to appreciate the fact that that is a hellishly expensive present these days.
It is. And
because I mean,
historically I've always gone with Ilford paper, but over the last year or so I've been using the Kentmere stuff, which is a lot cheaper. Yeah, and I'm more than happy with it. If I can get the Ilford fibre-based stuff, I always will. But I'm not going to knock the Kentmere range that they do. No, it's really good for the value.
I mean, I have to sort of say, I mean, I was recently doing a purchase order for work, and no, it's not my money. Had to gag for a moment seeing the price of photographic paper. Now it's jumped up quite considerably. When I think about, and okay, I'm old now, and when I say back today, when I was in uni, it's now knocking on a few years, but I remember buying my first box of paper to go to university with, and it was 30 quid, and it was 100 sheets. Yeah, that's not. It's more than tripled for the same stuff.
And especially for if you want the A4 size stuff, which is what we had to buy for uni.
Yeah, that was wildly inconvenient.
I remember on the shopping list that we got, and it was it's really expensive paper size. It's not a normal size of paper.
Yeah.
But a lot of that cost is not just the production and how expensive production is to do, just the raw materials involved. I mean, you think of the price of silver now compared to just 5-10 years ago, it's gone through the roof, and that's the main ingredient for all our paper, all our film.
I think this is it. I mean, it is just something you have to take into account these days, isn't it? He says sounding very old and miserable, but yeah. But the point is, it's a very, very, very generous gift. So well done, Mrs. Warland. So are we going to dive into our theme for the week? I'm just going to take a moment. All of you that are listening, you've just missed the beauty that is some of our Almost in Focus merch being used. I've just seen Tom drinking out of one of our mugs that are now something that we're experimenting with. So watch this space for Almost in Focus merch coming soon. Going to start slapping your mug on everything.
Don't worry.
Yeah, we'll start slapping it on everything. I've probably got some skin left for a tattoo.
Oh, don't even joke about it. I know you will.
Yeah. Slap bang in the middle of my forehead. No, with a spelling mistake, probably. So, shall we dive into our discussions this week and move forward with the new year?
I suppose we should.
Yeah. Well, I look at our notes and it starts with you. So, I'd like you to take the lead and tell me what the plans are.
Okay. Well, we thought that with it being a new year and all that history and idea of having New Year's resolutions that you never keep. So resolutions of going and joining a gym and you keep it going for about 4 weeks and then you give up, or to
eat healthy,
skip the booze and do dry January and all this kind of stuff.
God. I wonder if everyone's miserable.
We decided that, I know. We decided that photography would be a better loop for that. Our New Year photographic goals. So I think we'll go through our individual goals, our goals for the podcast, but also for you as listeners, if you could let us know through comments on the podcast platforms or through our social media what your photographic goals are, we'd love to hear them as well. So yes, I suppose if we start with me, the darkroom. So the last couple of months where my hand's broken, it's still broken. I'm out of cast, but I'm still limited in what I can do. I'm now able to get my thumb and my index finger to touch, which means I can now load my enlarger I can start printing again. So this is very exciting for me.
There's a big smile on his face.
Yeah. So I'm going to get back into the darkroom. I'm going to restart doing my darkroom live streams on YouTube. So the last Thursday of the month. And that's going to be a big thing for me. So when I broke my hand, so this was about 2 months ago now, ridiculously, I was in the middle of doing some prints and I've got the negatives. I'm really happy with them. I've scanned them. So I have the image in a digital form. I'm happy with it, but I really want to print it. So that's my big goal, really. And then I also want to get some new projects going as well. For the last couple of years, I've been trying to interview record collectors about their collecting habits and do portraits with this. It hasn't really gone anywhere. I haven't got the time to give it full attention, really. So I want to do something that's a bit more immediate, perhaps a bit closer to home and a bit more concrete. So I've got an idea working hopefully with a big theatre production company or National Ballet Company or something along those lines of the behind the scenes and to photograph it in 3D, so stereoscopic, which I don't think has ever been done. So if you know anyone who is involved in the production of theatre or dance in London's West End, please let me know. I need an in. I suppose, that's it. Darkroom, new projects.
See, that interestingly, so we haven't pre-planned this because that would involve far more organisation than we're capable of. But one of the things I have written down here is to talk about the long-term projects versus the one-off shoots and the idea of accepting that some projects just refuse to be finished. They don't want to be finished. They're taking too long, and we should let go of any guilt on that. So I think that's kind of that's interestingly kind of what you're talking about with long-term projects, especially your
I've had to do that. Yeah, I've had to do that so many times in the past. I remember when we were at university in our third year, I was photographing the Cardiff Philharmonic Orchestra. And I spent months going there every week to the rehearsals. I was going to performances at St David's Hall in central Cardiff, which is a beautiful brutalist centre. I suppose the Cardiff equivalent of the Barbican.
Yeah.
And it never resolved itself. It stagnated. I got lovely photographs from it.
I was going to say, there's some nice images.
It just didn't really come together. And then when we finished uni, I moved back home, so near London. I tried with a couple of different orchestras. And again, I was having the same problem. And I just never came to what I imagined it could be. And that's the problem I'm having with the record collectors. It's just not coming together as I would like, really.
Well, I think my theory is sometimes put these projects down, accept that sometimes you want to go and take photos and you want to just make images and do that without guilt. And the project, keep it on the back burner. It's not gone. If something comes for it, shoot it. But there's this kind of myth that we should always be being productive. And if you're not making work, that you get sort of guilt, photographer's guilt. I know I do. I've started this project. I'm doing this project. If I'm not out using every minute of every day that I'm not at work, then I'm not a real photographer. I've experienced that this last couple of weeks because, as everyone who listens knows, I'm a teacher. Tom's a teacher. We get 2 weeks off at Christmas. I have had no reason to not go out and make images. I've gone out and I've done a single shoot, but it was no project. It was actually to help out my wife. She's been doing some customized jackets and things, and I took some photographs of those, and that was nice. It was just a nice one-off shoot, made some pretty pictures, but I still had that photographer's guilt that I haven't been out shooting for my projects. We have to sort of let go of that. New Year's resolution for me is to enjoy making photographs when I make them, and when projects are working, they're working, and when they're not, don't force it, because you'll make rubbish. You can make beautiful pictures that have no meaning, but just because you feel you've got to make work. So we've talked about in the past creative block. I think that this is it's not creative block. It's about being realistic and not beating yourself up because you spend so much time beating yourself up about not creating work and not being productive. that you miss opportunities to go out with your camera and just enjoy yourself.
I think we talked about this a little bit very early on in the podcast as well. We talked about photographic education
Mm,
and the way that certainly for us, there was this real kind of push on all photographs having intention.
yeah,
And for us at that time, those intentions were these convoluted ideas of us having, powerful images that will change society, change the world for the better. But actually, that intention could just be picking up a camera and having a few moments with a camera. I did this the other day. I've not used a camera with a controllable lens
mm,
for 2 months
yeah,
because I've not been able to use both hands together. And now I'm not in the car, so I picked up my Minolta, but it was too heavy really to support properly without putting a strain in my hand, and the lens was too wide to hold comfortably. But my rangefinder, Voigtlander, was a
mm,
dream. So I took it on a dog walk
yeah.
and I did 2 or 3 photos, just little landscapes, detail shots of plants. And yeah, I was happy with that. Just getting to use a camera, getting to do something in that moment.
Yeah, I think you've got to say it's a skill. If you don't use it, you lose it. So go out and shoot anyway, but don't feel guilty if it isn't world-changing photography. And that's kind of one of my New Year's resolutions is you can go and take pictures just for the hell of it, and it's still okay. It doesn't have to be just because I'm working on a long-term project, which we've talked about before, and it is ongoing, doesn't mean that I should switch off to looking for other things to take photographs of and enjoy just taking photographs in general. So yeah, that's kind of one of my little takes on that. I have, would you believe, a list of 10 whole things to discuss, but that's kind of a couple of them rolled into one. But I mean, it leads on to
What else is on your list then?
my list. So we have the myth of the productive photographer, which we've just discussed. You don't have to, not everything has to be work. Slowing down often improves my work, so the slow down and enjoy it. This one's difficult for me, and I put this one in, and when I was discussing this with my wife, she just rolled her eyes. It is the gear you already own is enough. So the gear you already own is enough. Basically, stop buying more cameras, stop buying lights, which I've just done. I admit I've just bought some kit, but no more. What I've got, use it. Just get rid of that gear fatigue. Stop feeding the gas. For those of you that don't know what gas is, it's gear acquisition syndrome, and it's a real thing for photographers. It's a real thing that puts us in debt to various banks and credit card companies. And to be honest with you, I'm a big sufferer. I get obsessed with buying a bit of kit. And even though I know it won't make my photography any different, I won't be a different photographer just because I've got a different camera. It actually limits me because I can't decide what to take out to shoot with. So the gear I have is enough. Admittedly, I already have a lot of gear, so it shouldn't be that hard to slow down with that. But yeah, I think we've got to say to people, what gear you've got, even if, and I speak to people, there are people I've spoken to about the podcast, which has been, by the way, amazing to hear from people who are listening to the podcast. Please keep it up because it genuinely does brighten our day when we get a message. I had a couple, and I think you've had a couple as well recently. And when messages hit our inbox, it genuinely perks our day up. No matter what's going on, it's really nice to hear from people knowing that you're out there and having a listen. But there are people I've spoken to who are shooting with their mobile phones and going, "Oh, I need to get a proper camera." No, just go out and take pictures. Enjoy making the images. Whatever camera you make them on doesn't really matter because you're actually about the image itself. And you can pixel peep and you can buy the most expensive gear in the world, and you can still take absolutely crap photos. And you can take your mobile phone and take something amazing. It's the old Ansel Adams quote, which, correct me if I'm wrong, but is it not something along the lines of the most important part of the camera is the 8 inches behind? I went on a rant there, didn't I? But hey, I think one that was needed. People need to know that you can go out and make pictures with whatever you've got.
Yeah, agree.
Yeah. So yeah, you kind of you get the gist. It's important to just get out and make images. So that was your gear you already own is enough. Stop feeding the social media monster, which is going to be quite a difficult one for me. Post less. just post quality. So stop throwing every
Yeah,
photograph, you know?
I think that's a really important one for a lot of photographers.
Mm.
And I know others have, they've ironically posted about this on social media.
Mhm.
So Candy Reese, I know, did something a few days ago where she did a post and she was saying, don't chase likes and so on. That's not the value of you as a photographer. Your value is your work. And if you are chasing the likes, or if you are underselling yourself commercially, so it might be that you've got loads of bookings, but if your bookings are, all like £5 or whatever, you're not valuing your time effectively. Yeah, I think you're right. I think we shouldn't be hung up on likes, and we are both guilty of this. I know that when we post this episode on Wednesday, over the next couple of days afterwards, we'll be looking to see at, which countries has it been listened to this time, and and how much interest it's maybe had compared to previous episodes.
Yeah.
And we had a marketing email come through to us a couple of days ago saying that it's now the 7th most listened to podcast at that moment on Apple Podcasts for visual arts. Well, that's great and lovely. I don't believe it to be true.
I mean,
And when you click on the link in the email, and suddenly it's, to get more information, spend £5 a month. Yeah.
yeah, no, you're right.
And all these things are trying to entice you into that mindset of chasing likes, chasing the Instagram algorithm. And yeah, I think you're right. I think we need to pay attention to that less.
Yeah, I mean, I went through a phase of it. I got into a Instagram, I don't know, cycle of posting every day, one post at 6 o'clock every day. I had to find something to post, had to have something ready to go, scheduling posts, so there was something every day. And I'll be honest, the follower went up through the roof. My mental health went through the floor because you cannot.
It's exhausting.
It's exhausting. You can't create work that fast, not of any quality. And unless you're someone who does still lives in your kitchen of whatever it is that you've got thousands of them ready to rock, it's not sustainable. Certainly not sustainable when you've got a full-time job. So yeah, stop feeding the social media monster. Yes, still engage with it because it's still an important tool. But if I don't have 50,000 followers by the end of the year, who cares? Quality audience over quantity of audience.
Yeah. And I think certainly with Instagram, I think rather than focusing on that consistency of that 6 o'clock every day as you were doing, and I know I went down that route for a little while. I couldn't keep it going. I think I gave up before you did. I think to have variety in single images and carousels and reels, and to keep that variety so it doesn't stagnate, is probably better at actually having something honest with a online audience. That's obviously going to be a different mindset when it comes to things like Photo App and Blue Sky and Facebook and all the others.
That's when we should put a pin in it at this point. We should talk about Photo App at some point because that is a definite way forward in using social media, but not falling into that Instagram trap. Maybe not today, but if future episode, guys, keep your ears open for that.
It'd be quite nice to get one of the developers as a guest, maybe.
Yeah, I was just thinking that's should we make a... This is how our podcast work, guys. Stream of consciousness. We have an idea, and then we action it somewhere before the next episode. Yeah, no, I think that would be good because I think that's health insofar as there can be healthy social media. Photo App is kind of a healthier social media for photographers. You're not competing with your sort of, I'm trying to think of a nice way of putting it. Let's call them models on Instagram.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The inverted commas of models.
Yes.
Cats jumping at cucumbers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're not fighting that kind of algorithm of internet nonsense, You're not going up against thousands of reels of people miming to music videos or, reusing other people's content and all that kind of rubbish. So yeah, definitely something to look at. Anyway, back to the list of delight. Right. it's normal to be in a creative rut. Don't beat yourself up. That kind of links to the. By the way, the rhyming is intentional. I'm trying to make it stick in my brain. Little photographic mantras, just to shoot more. Doesn't matter. Enjoy shooting. Avoid that kind of. This links to that first one about being the myth of the productive photographer. Just enjoy it. Creative ruts happen. They're normal. And to sort of take comfort in that and accept that that's something to do. So that's kind of, I don't know about you, but I think we've quite often talked about creative ruts. In fact, you mentioned it today with the Discophiles stuff. It links
Yeah.
that letting a projects rest, come back to it. A lot of these things link to kind of time and projects and accepting that unless you're a millionaire, your projects have to sort of sit in the background and tick over, and you have to squeeze them in around family and work and all those commitments that you didn't think about when you were 21 with your camera going to change the world. 21-year-old me did not think that he'd have to get up and write a department action plan or, look at 200 pages of sketchbooks before the end of the week, that kind of stuff. That was not high on my photography plan of action for life. So yeah, there's a few.
No, I remember when I did my teacher training,
Mm,
my mindset was I would teach photography in term time, and then you have the summer and you have the spring break,
mm,
and I can go and make my own projects in that time. And when it's term time, I can be planning projects or planning exhibitions. I think I lasted about 6 months before I realized that was just going to be a complete impossibility,
yeah.
because you're just too shattered as a teacher
Yeah.
to really be able to do that.
Well, funnily enough, one of the things I have written down here, it's almost like we share one very tired brain. Teaching photography without killing your own practice. So set boundaries between professional and personal work. The stuff I do for work, the photos I do for school, the videos I make for school, that's one thing. And then the creative stuff that I do for myself, totally something else. What I do find that maybe people who don't work with kids don't get that is that, let's be honest, teachers moan. It's part of the contract, I do believe, that to have a good whine and a moan. But students quite often accidentally teach us something. And for me, it's quite regular that a kid will talk about an idea and that might spark something for me or bring a joy back to photography that I lost. So while the job is sometimes quite draining, working with kids can be a constant source of inspiration and enthusiasm. So I think we need to,
Yeah, I agree with that.
like they can, a teenager, I mean, working with teenagers is difficult, but it can be super rewarding when when they are enthusiastic about what you're teaching them. It can help you become enthusiastic again, and that's sometimes the most enjoyable moments when you're teaching and you basically end up having a conversation, a bit like we're having now, about photography, and you realize, yes, they're enjoying this, I'm enjoying this, and somehow this is work. So to tap into that kind of energy and use that to be creative, and accept that even that is being creative, that is still photography. Even without a camera in my hand, thinking about photography, discussing it, it's all leading to something. These things spark new ideas.
Yeah, the best days in the classroom for me are ones where I'm going through a student's work with them, and in their research is a photographer I've never heard of.
Mm.
And it's someone whose work is quite interesting, and they are, you know, they are actually of a suitable caliber to be looking at for research rather than being their mate,
Yes.
as, does sometimes happen.
Yes, quite regularly, to be fair. On their mate's dad.
So yeah, and so that's always quite good. And when it comes to Photoshop, for example,
Mm.
I'm not brilliant with Photoshop. I'm not going to pretend I am. We studied documentary photography, so heavy photographic manipulation was not in our photographic education.
It wasn't high on the. I think we did we do 1 or 2 workshops on Photoshop in our entire degree?
Yeah, probably about that. It was, this is how you do a border. This is how you do your color balance.
Yeah,
Here's the healing brush,
that was
and that
about
was
it,
about
yeah.
it.
Yeah, that was Gawain,
So
thanks, Gawain.
yeah, and we teach teenagers. They are quite often having better understanding of the new tools that are in Photoshop than we have.
Yeah,
So if I start doing a workshop on something the way that I've learned it,
yeah.
and then someone goes, there's a new tool that does that. Really? Show me.
Yeah.
And I'm learning from them as well. It's great.
Yeah. No, don't get me wrong. I mean, let's be honest, Photoshop changes every update. It changes. So thanks, Adobe. That's really helpful. But yeah, it's something that, that kind of like them being enthusiastic helps everyone else and helps you, well, me anyway. I remember that there's more here, but so we don't feed the social media monster. Talks about killing your own photographic practice with teaching. Talks about projects. Now, the value of small and local.
Yeah.
This is one me and you know quite well, but it's also one that I had to remind myself of because I keep seeing these amazing projects where people have hopped on a plane and gone to Africa or, Cuba or Ukraine or somewhere where there is an exotic element to the work,
Yes.
and my result is this: you don't need to travel far to find things to photograph. In fact, I watched the Might and Power documentary this holidays. You're going to hear me say it. Go and have a watch of it, people. Love him or hate him, it's actually a really good documentary. And whether I always agree with him or not, or agreed with him or not, one of the things he talks about in there is that you don't have to go far to make good work. And that's why this is on the list. So actually, thank you, Martin Parr, for this one. You don't need to travel far to make good work. Photograph what's there. Photograph the things that are around you. Photograph your communities. Works better when you can go back to it. And I think that's one of the issues I've had with some of my projects is I can't always go back to a hospital ward and re-photograph things. I can't always go and say to someone, oh, do you mind me coming around your house for the 5th time to photograph this, that or the other? So actually finding things that are reoccurring and accepting local, accept local is...
I hugely agree with that.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm thinking again when we were at uni and some of our peers, they were all over the world for the final project. They were traveling everywhere. You went up to the outer islands of Scotland.
Yeah.
So you traveled quite a bit of yours as well, but you were limited by not being able to return. You were able to do 2 trips.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of pressure on you. And I know some of the others, they got some great photographs, but again, they couldn't go back on a regular basis, or they missed too much input from the shooters to be able to make the improvements they needed.
Yeah.
And I can't remember who I was saying it to. No, I can't remember. But I remember having this conversation at the time, and someone was going off somewhere. I can't remember where they were going either. And I was photographing my aunt. So this old lady in a small terrace house in North London. And it's like, that's not big enough for the final project. And I was like, well, it doesn't have to be far. And I can go back there. And I spent weeks going backwards and forwards between Wales and London with bags of film for the processing machine. And I was able to have that, that back and forwards. And that's what I'm having. You're saying you can't revisit a hospital ward for your project. You can't redo something from and yes, you've got other things coming up, but they are limited to that moment. They don't reoccur.
Yeah.
And that's the problem I've had with the records collectors is, I interviewed them once. I do one portrait. If I'm not happy with it, I can't go back and redo it because it feels staged. It feels forced, and the conversation won't work in that way.
This is it. So yeah. I think these are all things that ultimately I think we, as photographers, probably know in our heart of hearts, but it's nice to air it out, start the year with these things fresh on the table. Maybe if one person takes one of the things we've said and it improves their photographic planning for the year or the way they shoot, even if it's one of us, ideally we'll listen to ourselves a little bit. But I think it's important to plan ahead and to accept these real limitations and just enjoy what you do at whatever level you do it. I think so talking to a colleague of mine, and I won't name names because it's not, they haven't asked permission, etc. We were talking about the fact that when we were young, I'm going to say younger, there was an element of, I'm going to be the next Robert Capa or the next, I don't know, Henry Cavill and so on and so forth. I'm going to be the next big thing. And you get to a point where you sort of have a word with yourself and go, you're not, but that doesn't matter. Do you enjoy making the work? Does your work have some significance to somebody out there? And if the answer is yes to one or both, preferably both, but one of those, just keep doing it because it doesn't matter that you're not going to be out there being the famous photographer if you're enjoying making the work, so be it, enjoy it. And if people don't like it, that's on them, not on you. I was thinking about that the other day and just decided that you make it for yourself. And I think
There's a quote. There's a quote by Bruce Gilden, Magnum photographer.
Yeah.
And I might not get the words exactly right, so
Well, accepted
apologies
approximation.
anyone who knows it best. Yeah. And I read it in an article and an interview of him in LFI magazine a few years ago. And Gilden said something along the lines of, I couldn't be as good as Henri Cartier-Bresson, but I realized I could be the best at being Bruce Gilden.
I love that. And that is exactly what...
No, that's what you're saying. I mean, I don't
Yeah.
like Gilden's work as such. The way he uses flash isn't my thing.
Yeah.
But that mindset, I think, is fantastic.
I agree. I think that's the only way to really be, isn't it? You know, they say you could spend your life trying to be the next big photographer, you know, the next whoever. But why do you need to be anyone but yourself? And if you're happy making work and you're enjoying making work, just do it, you know? Like Nike says, there we go. Are they going to sponsor us now, do you think?
They'll shut us down.
Probably sue us. Yeah. Good luck, Nike. All you'll get is a bunch of camera equipment. So yeah, those are kind of my big takeaways for this year. You know,
I think I'm going to borrow one of yours as well. I think I'm going to borrow the think small and local as a good sort of mantra.
Yeah. That and not feeding the social media monster are my two biggies really this year. I think this year I'm going to be less interested in hacks and gear and more interested in why we're making photographs after all. You know, why are we making these images? That's kind of it in a sentence, I suppose. And then, as we've said before, for anyone, you know, a bit of referring back to our earlier episodes, if you're stuck in a format, have a go, you know, stuck with in a rut, do a one roll project. You know, go out to projects you've been thinking about, revisit old work with a fresh eye. Don't necessarily feel that if you're not out shooting, you're not working on a project. Sit down with a sketchbook and a cup of tea and plan out ideas. Look at photography books, read a good photography book, watch a photography documentary. It's all productive. It's all feeding the creative monster inside. All of that kind of alleviates that little niggling guilt that you're not being creative every minute of every day, or it doesn't.
Yeah. And you know, and finding other ways of being creative if you need to.
Yeah.
So for us doing this podcast has been a huge creative outlet when our time is limited through working week.
Yeah.
You know, it's a way of getting to create something and do something that was missing for us before.
Yeah. It's our creative fix. It's an hour a fortnight where we get to be creative and discuss things that we're passionate about. And I don't have to pay a therapist for it. So yeah.
You can pay me in that case. Okay.
Yeah. I knew this would cost me money somehow. But yeah, I think that, you know, and I think we underplay the importance of creativity in people's health. We joke and this is a photography podcast, not a well-being podcast, but creativity is one of those things that is overlooked in terms of keeping people happy and healthy. Whatever your creative outlook let be, it's important to do something creative for us, even if it's, you know, for everybody. Even if it's just doing a jigsaw puzzle. I mean, that's something creative, and if it keeps you happy, do that. It's being creative, isn't it? Like I said, this podcast for us is our creative fix, because we know that every fortnight we're going to be doing our podcast, which means we're doing something creative. And if nothing else, it means that you have to pick up a photography book once in a while to be ready to talk about things.
Okay, so with that in mind, what do we want on Almost in Focus over the 2026?
Things we want to see. I think we want some more interviews. I think we're not names yet, but we have got some names coming up that I'm looking forward to. I think certainly exploring creative practice throughout the UK. I would like to go international. I know we've already had international guests, but I'd like to have an international practitioner, talk to someone about what's local where they are. I feel like we actually ought to do a review of an exhibition. I want to get out there and do a live. Well, I say a live, record live and then upload to our podcast. I know that we have plans to do some photography shows coming up, so that I'm looking forward to.
Yeah. So the photography show is at Birmingham again this year. That's March. Last year I talked to it. This year I think I am as well. We just need to confirm a date. So It'll probably be the Saturday, I think, at the moment. So the 14th of March. If not the 14th, it'll be the 15th. It'll be one of those 2 days. But yeah, hopefully we will both be there for that.
Yeah.
And it'd be good to do sort of like a in-person episode, I
Yeah.
suppose.
Well, this is it. I mean, we will be there. So we'll definitely tell you nearer the time, guys. But you'll see us. We have branding, so you'll be able to spot us. Look out for the Almost in Focus logo, and come over and talk to us. You might end up on the podcast. That's if you're interested.
That'd be great.
That would be amazing. I mean, I'd love to meet our 3 fans. We joke. There's definitely more than 3 of you out there.
Yeah, I mean, I did notice in that chasing the algorithm that we're not doing at all.
No.
We've picked up some listeners in Poland. Was it Ecuador?
Ecuador was one. Was South America pop up as well?
So yeah, we've gone into parts of the world that I did not think would choose to listen to us.
No?
They probably switched off after about 30 seconds, I'm sure, but there we go.
They missed the best bit at 32 seconds in.
I like your idea of actually getting a guest photographer from elsewhere in the world.
Yeah. Because I'll be honest, guys, we're going to have a fair few British photographers, but that's because they're people we know. But that doesn't mean that we're not open to hitting that international stage. Well, yeah, what else are we going to aim to get on in 2026?
Oh, I'm on a quick glance at my ideal list. Now, one of the names that I wrote down when we started doing this was Martin Parr, which sadly is not going to be possible as he died a few weeks ago. But I think maybe see if we can get someone from the Martin Parr Foundation to talk about his legacy. It would be quite nice. Definitely. And the importance of the foundation as an educational element within British photography. That could be quite nice.
Pretty good, yeah. So yeah, I think that's a nice one.
Yeah, well, I mean, we've got a bunch of names down here of people either we know well or we know in passing that we think would be interesting to talk to about a wide variety of photographic subjects. We're not going to name names because we need to ask them first rather than say, you are on our podcast and not giving them any choice in the matter.
No, we need to make sure they're definitely up and we can't be saying we'll get an amazing interview and then not having it. We'd hate to false promise.
I think to go see some more exhibitions and get to talk about what we've seen would be quite nice as well. So little exhibition reviews of what's on around the country.
I'm up for that one. I think that's a definite win for us. I think the other things we need to maybe look into are book reviews, not in depth.
Yes.
But some suggested book reviews. And with that in mind, guys, maybe it's time we went visual and did a YouTube as well. Maybe the odd book review on YouTube. I know that you've done a few before, so we can maybe throw those out. We'll see.
I'm up for that.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not talking about mine and your glorious faces because I don't think the world's ready for that. But certainly images of the books we're talking about. And maybe a few of the best books in the year photographically. But yeah, I think we've got plenty of exciting. Yeah. Sorry, go on.
So I was just thinking of someone to add onto our list there as well.
No, we shall throw that mystery in there for you guys to try and work out. But yeah, realistically, guys,
I'm writing down on our notes.
Excellent. While Tom does the important work of writing down one of our brainchilds that's happened mid-podcast, I think I shall call that as our start of the year 2026 first podcast coming to a close.
Yeah, and what I will say in that is we've spoken about our photographic goals for the year.
Yep.
Please get in touch with us through Spotify comments, through our Instagrams, or find me on Blue Sky as well. And let us know what your photographic goals are. What is it you want to achieve 2026 in photography, big or small?
Yeah. People, when you get in contact with us, if you're happy for us to talk about what you've said as well, let us know because you get a shout out. We're quite happy to discuss things that you've suggested to us. We're opening ourselves up there, I think, possibly, but let's hear what the world has to say. If you want us to talk about what you've brought to our attention, we'll do that. Right. I think we probably call that episode 7.
Episode 7. So, yeah, thank you again for bearing with us and listening to our rambles, and join us again in a couple of weeks with potentially a guest.
Things being equal. Cross those fingers, folks.